Against all odds, Dr. King Fred Matiang'i should make sure that he has not been branded to be a project. And I am saying this because it depends on the Mount Kenya people. And actually, even some Kenyans across the country, they hate people who are branded as projects. It's not ideal when Matiang'i, the person we knew, a bulldozer we knew before, is now branded to be weak, that he cannot stand by himself to become a presidential candidate who can go and get voted by the people, in that he's seen as a project. It doesn't make any sense at all. So I think for Dr. King Fred Matiang'i to be politically strong, he needs to ensure as much as possible he does not appear to be under the wings of an individual. Be it Uhuru Kenyatta, be it Rigathi Gachagua. He needs to come out as an independent person. That is what Kenyans are looking for. The project term will actually brand him like a person who cannot make independent decisions. It will look like they are going to elect someone else instead of Matiang'i through Matiang'i's face. It will give William Ruto the starting point to hit Matiang'i. I think that should not be happening in the country as we speak right now. Matiang'i should not give any Kenyan a reason to see him as a project. But nevertheless, Matiang'i depends on Mount Kenya. And Mount Kenya is one of the regions in this country which hates actually politicians who are branded as projects. And I want to prove to you on this particular video. But before I take you through, if this is the first time you're watching videos here, take a second or two to subscribe, like, and comment, because that is the best support you can always give this channel. Now, Matiang'i needs to know that the Mount Kenya people, they hate projects completely. If you are a project, then you are deemed to fail. You will not get their votes. They rather get a weak candidate who literally seems to be very independent and vote for him. And they'll dump you completely, even if you are whichever type, because they want to elect an individual and depend on him, not like an individual who depends on the other. So they cannot entirely depend on him. So it's essential for Dr. King Fred Matiang'i to ensure that the people of Mount Kenya do not see him as a project, because he wants them as well for him to become a president. Now, the reason number one I'm saying that it is dangerous to be a project in Mount Kenya, it's because in 2002, Uhuru Kenyatta seemed to be a project of Moi by that time. And they had Uhuru Kenyatta, and of course they had Kibaki. Despite Kibaki associating himself with Raila Amolo Odinga, he was voted in overwhelmingly. And the Kikuyu sat down and said, no, we cannot give Uhuru Kenyatta because he's coming in. It is Moi we are electing through Uhuru Kenyatta. And eventually they dumped their own son because of appearing to be a project. That's dangerous. That's number one. In the year 2007, Uhuru Kenyatta was forced to get into a coalition, work with Kibaki. Work with Kibaki and ensure Kibaki amemaliza term zake ngapi? 2. Now, in 2013 it came and Uhuru Kenyatta was among the prospects. So there was a question that should Kibaki endorse Uhuru Kenyatta or not? They sat down and they remembered one simple thing. The people of Mount Kenya hate projects. So they ensured that they have literally decided not to endorse Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Kibaki's team decided not to endorse Uhuru Kenyatta. Though they prepared him to be a leader, at least gave him some positions, cabinet secretary, they made him by then a minister, they also made him a deputy prime minister, he was also an MP by that time. So there are so many things that Uhuru Kenyatta was holding at that particular juncture. So by the time he was coming to the ballot, Kibaki probably, he gave some hints or maybe at some point some advice, but it did not appear to be endorsing Uhuru Kenyatta directly. So what happened? Uhuru Kenyatta was elected by the people of Mount Kenya overwhelmingly. Overwhelmingly. Ladies and gentlemen, come 2022, Raila Amolo Odinga was in some form of a coalition with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And despite Uhuru Kenyatta being from Mount Kenya, he endorsed Raila Amolo Odinga. And despite being from Mount Kenya, ladies and gentlemen, the people of Mount Kenya rejected his endorsement. Rejected Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga was seen not to be the Raila Amolo Odinga people knew. You know, there's this Raila Amolo Odinga of Mandamano opposition before the handshake. People used to admire him across. In fact, people were like, if he could not have become Uhuru Kenyatta's project, or maybe he could not have gotten into a handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, by now he could be the president of the Republic of Kenya. But he lost so many votes across the country because of literally appearing to be a project of Uhuru Kenyatta, as William Ruto was appearing to be so independent and a fighter. So Raila Amolo Odinga was branded mzee ambaye ni project. In fact, I remember at some point even Musalia Mudavadi coming up and saying that Raila Amolo Odinga anakontroliwa na remote kutoka mahali. And you know, as much as that appeared to be very simple, it is sunk into Kenya's mind that huyu mzee will not be acting independently. People tried to argue around that, oh no, Raila Amolo Odinga is tough, akichukua kiti atakuwa mkali. But eventually the project term, it diminished Raila Amolo Odinga's support across the country. People did not see him as an independent Raila Amolo Odinga. In fact, I was arguing with some people from Kisii here who are supporting Raila Amolo Odinga immensely and say that if this guy could have remained in the opposition, then by the time 2022 was coming, he could have been having 6 million strong or even more against William Ruto, because Uhuru Kenyatta had made so many mistakes, some of them including a high cost of living. And if Raila Amolo Odinga could have come out to condemn Uhuru Kenyatta during like he used to do before from 2013 to 2017, I feel strongly that Raila Amolo Odinga could have attracted support even from Mount Kenya without entirely being endorsed. You see now, it happened that people saw him as a project and he was left out. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the worst mistake that Raila Amolo Odinga made at that particular point. The Raila Amolo Odinga we knew, every time there's a mistake in government, he could come out on a press conference and say it. And in fact, after his press statement, things changed because the country was always listening to him. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta made so many mistakes, Unga going up to 230, 50. And Raila Amolo Odinga could not say anything. In fact, there are so many good things he used to raise against Uhuru Kenyatta's government, where he used to say that the issue of loans, we should not borrow more. But now, after the handshake, he had to dance to the tune of Uhuru Kenyatta. You can borrow and then now use the money well. And the borrowing went on and went on and on. And eventually, Kenyans, as we are talking right now, we are suffering because of some of the loans that were borrowed during the handshake government and during Uhuru Kenyatta's 5-year first term. So in a nutshell, I feel strongly that Matiang'i should as well work hard to ensure that he does not appear to be a project of anyone whatsoever. Because if he does so, then he's meant to fail. And one thing I want to caution Dr. Kiongo Fred Matiang'i is that if he fails in 2027, he will not recover, especially if he's seen as a project. After 2027, Kenyans will be thinking afresh. After William Ruto, if he wins, we don't want any other person who has been there before. We will want new figures now on board. People who can perform, people can rely on. Something like having young men on board. People are smart like Ndindi Nyoro, Edwin Sifuna. People Kenyans can rely on. So Matiang'i should be very careful not to be deemed or to be seen as a project of anyone, including Uhuru Kenyatta. So from his speech, actions, and decision making, he must appear independent. My name is Abdul Mokwa. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time for more videos. Please make sure that you keep subscribing, keep following the videos that we do here, because that's the best support you can always give us. When you share our videos, we get more viewership. When you subscribe, we get more coverage, and that's how I get to grow, probably even at least I get to earn something from the YouTube channel. Please make sure that you also subscribe for me to hit the 20,000 subscription mark within this January. Amaniaje. Thank you so much. See you next time.